You're standing in the kitchen at 10:47 p.m., staring at your phone. Your teenager hasn't replied in 12 minutes. You refresh the location app. The dot is still moving. Slowly. You tell yourself you're being responsible. Any good parent would check. The world is dangerous. That's the story. But what if the tightness in your chest isn't about today at all? What if it's about decades ago and a world your nervous system never fully stopped scanning? We like simple generational explanations. Gen X is protective because they grew up wild. Boomers are tough because they survived hardship. Millennials are anxious because of the internet. These stories are neat, but your brain doesn't organize itself by marketing categories. It organizes itself around experience, memory, and threat detection. When people describe Generation X, born roughly mid-60s to 1980, they talk about independence, latchkey kids, empty houses, unsupervised freedom. The narrative says they learned resilience early, so now they value toughness. But independence learned by necessity is not the same as independence chosen with support. If you came home to an empty house at 8, your nervous system encoded something specific. It learned to self-regulate alone. It learned that help might not arrive quickly, that adaptation can look like competence. But beneath it, your brain may store a quieter rule. Safety is not guaranteed. Popular culture says Generation X parents are hyper-vigilant because the world became scarier. School shootings, terrorism, nonstop news. That's partly true, but neuroscience adds another layer. When early life includes unpredictability, the amygdala, the brain's threat detector, becomes efficient, not damaged, efficient. It scans faster. It anticipates more. It prefers preparation over optimism. So when you refresh that app, you're not performing a stereotype, you're executing a strategy shaped by past uncertainty combined with modern technology. The problem is not vigilance itself. It's that the same mechanism that once protected you can begin to narrow you. Hypervigilance is adaptive in unstable environments. It helps you survive recessions, layoffs, institutional betrayal. It pushes you to build backup plans. It teaches your children preparedness. But vigilance has a cost. It prioritizes risk over possibility. It treats no news as incomplete reassurance. You might say, "I trust you," while still needing confirmation, not because you doubt your child, but because your nervous system prefers proof. This is why generational theory feels validating. It gives cultural permission. We're like this because of our era. But social psychology struggles to separate age, period, and cohort effects. Are you cautious because you're Gen X, because you're in midlife, or because smartphones now allow constant monitoring? Your brain doesn't care about labels. It responds to context. Notice how this pattern shows up outside parenting. At work, you double-check contracts. You anticipate layoffs before they're announced. You don't assume loyalty from corporations. That skepticism was shaped by economic volatility and public scandals. Preparation became armor. Independence equaled safety. But armor filters perception. It can make optimism feel naive. It can make passion require a contingency plan before it's allowed to breathe. When your child says, "I want to follow my passion," your first question might be, how will you support yourself? Not because you reject dreams, but because financial independence feels like emotional security. Here's the paradox. The strategy that once stabilized you in chaos can start organizing your life around preventing worst-case scenarios instead of expanding best-case possibilities. Attachment theory helps clarify this. If caregiving in childhood was loving but inconsistent, you may have developed a mixed pattern. Self-reliant yet alert to distance. You value autonomy yet feel uneasy when connection loosens. You encourage resilience yet monitor closely. This is not contradiction, it's layered adaptation. And it shows up everywhere. In friendships where you rarely ask for help, in relationships where you solve before you feel, in creative projects you hesitate to launch until every risk is minimized. The same internal algorithm runs. Anticipate, prepare, stabilize. Now pause with a harder question. If much of what you call your personality is actually a strategy your nervous system built for unpredictability, then who are you without the strategy? Are you the vigilant planner or the child who once needed someone to check in? Identity often forms around coping mechanisms. Generational labels reinforce that identity: pragmatic, skeptical, tough. But skepticism and vigilance are not fixed traits. They are intelligent responses. And generational narratives mislead when they imply sameness. Within any birth cohort, differences in class, race, geography, and family stability are enormous. Variation within a generation often exceeds variation between generations. When we say Gen X parents are hyperprotective, we risk mistaking a possible trend for a universal truth. Return to that kitchen moment, the refreshing of the app, the tightening in your chest. Instead of labeling it generational vigilance, see it as adaptive memory meeting modern technology. Your brain learned unpredictability is costly. Now it has tools to reduce uncertainty. Of course it uses them. The real question isn't whether vigilance is good or bad. It's whether you experience it as a choice in the present or as a command from the past. Once you see it as strategy, something changes. You don't have to abandon preparedness. You don't have to reject structure. Those traits built stability. But you can notice when the program is running automatically, when it's scanning for disproportionate threats, when it's narrowing possibility unnecessarily. That awareness creates a different kind of freedom, not the unsupervised freedom of childhood. The freedom to ask, is this precaution serving today's reality or yesterday's? Maybe the story isn't that a generation became more protective. Maybe humans adapt to uncertainty with remarkable intelligence and sometimes forget to update the software when the environment changes. So if you find yourself checking that dot again tonight, pause briefly. Not to stop, just to observe. What are you protecting? Your child's safety, your own history, or both? And when you look at your patterns of control, preparation, or skepticism, do you see a generational identity or a personal strategy that once made perfect sense and may now be ready for revision?